Hello and welcome to another edition of Cheers PA Beer Talk. I'm your host, Mike Lintel. We, as always, are joined each show with a guest from the brewing industry here in Pennsylvania. And today we have the head brewer from Naked Brewing Company in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania, Hannah Gohde. And thank you so much for joining us. You're very welcome to be on this show today. So the first question we always ask everyone is, what is the beer that got them into craft? Do you have any fond memories of early beer drinking and saying, like, there's something here that I want to be about or know more about?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on. So the beer that got me into craft beer was actually Appalachian Brewing Company's Water Gap Wheat. So I grew up in Harrisburg, just right up the road from the Susquehanna. And so, you know, the river was obviously something that I grew up on and kayaking on. So I was in college, and it had formerly been a dive bar, got bought out and turned into this awesome craft beer bar. And that happened right around the time that I turned 21, super convenient. And so they did that passport thing, you know, where like drink beers from different countries and then, you know, get your passport stamped. And so I was bound and determined to try all these cool new beers. And one of the first ones that I tried was Appalachian Brewing Company's Water Gap Wheat. And I was like, wow, this is really good. And I would say just prior to that was when I also fell in love with Guinness. And so while maybe not necessarily on the craft scale, you know, it's still a really good beer.
I would argue that it's extremely difficult to make that beer. And like the craft of making that beer on that scale that well for so long, I'll give them a pass because it's excellent. Yeah. Tell me someone else that's doing a better Irish stout than on Nitro.
I think there is one. Yeah. We also have a keg of Guinness on tap at home at all times. So
very
it's dedication. Nice. We love Guinness at home.
That's awesome. Have you been down to the brewery in Maryland since they've opened up?
I have. I actually was fortunate enough to go. The first time I went was their St. Patrick's Day celebration before their tap room that exists now was even open. This would have probably been 2017 or 18. And I actually had the opportunity to meet the person that was the head brewer at the time. They've since moved on, but her name is Holly, and she is absolutely amazing. And so she and I became friends, and yeah, so I've been down there a number of times.
That's amazing.
Really impressive facility.
Oh my goodness. And what a resource to have the ear of the head brewer. I'm sure that helped in your development and just the things that you gleaned just by that relationship.
Yeah. And like I said, she's a wealth of knowledge, and she's amazing. One of the other brewers, Sean, came from Charlie Pumpkin. So he's also a wealth of knowledge. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Some of their blended sours are insane, which is probably, from what I understand, pretty near and dear to your heart. If you're not going with the throwback wheats, I mean, you're pretty sour centric, right?
I do love sours. Yeah. Yeah.
What about the blending in the sours? Is that your favorite part of it, or is it just the building the base beer and then seeing as it evolves over time and just the evolution of the different barrels?
Yes.
Great answer.
Yes to all of that. No, I do love the whole process of sours and everything that goes into it. You know, sometimes people ask me what's my favorite beer to brew, and that's a hard one for me to answer.
It's not fair. It's not a fair question.
It's not really, and honestly, the actual brewing process is not really all that different from beer to beer. I mean, there's some, you know, minor tweaks here and there, but it's really not all that different. So for me, doing sours is where science meets art. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have the science that tells you this beer is going to ferment to X point and this is what's going to happen. And you kind of can anticipate that. But then the art form comes in when you're actually blending because it's so subjective. And you know, this is actually applicable to any barrel age project where you're having to blend. So I always use the analogy that it's like an artist has this paint palette, right? And they they see this beautiful sunset and they want to recreate that, and they have these beautiful colors on their paint palette, and so they're saying, okay, I'm going to use this orange and this red and this yellow and this purple, and it's going to come together, it's going to make this beautiful painting. But it's kind of the same concept when you have all these different barrels. It's just your palate is actually your tongue palate, and so you're tasting all these different barrels, which are so unique in each of their own rights. And so you have these different flavors and aromas and different levels of acidity, and some are funkier than others, and some are more, full-bodied than others. And so you have this idea in your mind of what you want this final product to taste like and what you want to create. And so you're using all of these different barrels to create that final product. So yeah, can you tell that I get?
No, I love it.
Barrel blending.
If we're being completely transparent, I was caught in a daydream of blending cider for Big Hill, and just like some of the things that I got to taste in the barrel room from barrel to barrel that would never, because of just oxygen and time and all the different factors, but in that moment that you taste something, you're like, no one else gets to see or taste or feel this, but just seeing it at its peak of how great it is, and then other people enjoying it down the line, but just knowing how excellent that time in the moment is, it really anchors you in that moment, because it's hard work barreling beer, and the amount of labor that goes into moving liquid around, and it's insanely difficult for the volume that you end up yielding. It's a true labor of love. Would you agree?
It really is.
And
Absolutely.
you have to put that into it, or it's just it'll come through as thin and lifeless. You have to put a little bit of yourself into those types of beer to really, become one with the nature that makes that beer, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I would actually argue that you have to put a little bit of yourself into every beer that you brew, regardless of whether it's, a barrel age or a blended project or whatever. So yeah, totally. You're totally right, though.
Okay. Well, also, I recently realized that you are celebrating your 1-year brewing anniversary. So congratulations, 1 year as head brewer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so 1 year as head brewer at Naked.
Naked, yep.
Yeah.
How did
my
you...
actual professional brewer anniversary was in July, middle of July.
So we're pretty close.
And that would have been 6 years. So.
Yeah, congratulations to all of that. In your first year, did you have any beers that you really enjoyed making, and that you're excited about seeing them evolve at Naked through the next couple of years?
Yeah, so I'm very intentional with everything that I do, from recipe development to working with our artists on label design, to the social media marketing photos that are taken, to even the ad copy that is posted on social media. So I'm very, very, very intentional with all of those things. And I have this big picture in my mind of what I want something to be, or the thought or the emotion that I want it to evoke from somebody when they're drinking it, the experience that I hope somebody has when they're drinking any of the beers that I do. And honestly, every single beer that I do, I have that mentality about. So for me to be more excited about one than another is not necessarily something that I can say, it
would be disingenuous. I completely understand that. And I think that that's really evident. I was reading through the copy on effervescent reflections in the thing that caught me was the chamomile. We grow chamomile at the house for tea, and it's such a pain to pick it. And you could have obviously gone to a much easier way to source your chamomile. But the fact that you're utilizing local Doylestown farm chamomile, now are you doing the picking yourself, or are they letting you in the? That's insane. It's so, but the smell of being around that much fresh chamomile, totally worth it.
It was, honestly, that day was probably one of the most magical days that I've had in my brewing career, for so many different reasons. The people that own Barefoot Botanicals Farm, which is where we got the chamomile from, Linda and Eric, are just two of the most lovely people you will ever meet. They have such a special place in my heart. And then even more special than that was that my mom actually came out and was part of that day. Yeah. So that was really, really, really special. My mom and I both absolutely love chamomile. And like the idea of using something wild and from the earth in this beer was just, something that resonates with me and resonates with my mom, even though she's not a huge beer drinker. She will have and try, and she appreciates it, and she loves nerding out with me and talking about different flavors and stuff like that. But yeah, so that was a really special day.
That's amazing. And what a great beer to pair it with, because I imagine like the sweet aroma of that chamomile with the Saison and a little bit of that earthy funk really just creates a full bouquet of just a lot going on, but all very well, as you said, intentional within the same atmosphere. So very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So another thing that you got involved in this year is the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for the Breweries of Pennsylvania. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of the genesis of where the decisions were made to start this committee and some of the impactful work that you've already been able to do in such a short time?
Yeah, so I am part of the Brewers of Pennsylvania, and it's actually Equity and Inclusion Committee.
My apologies.
We chose, no, it's okay. But I will explain this, we actually chose to drop the word diversity from it, and I'll explain why in just a second. But I'm also part of the Master Brewers Association of the Americas, DEI committee as well. So two different committees that I do work in this realm. So joining the BOP Equity and Inclusion Committee happened maybe February of 2020. And that actually came about as the result of some unfortunate incidents that had happened that for me were sort of the final straw. And I said, never again is this going to happen to me. And my hope is that I can prevent these types of things from happening to others. And God forbid, if I can't prevent them from happening, at least I can try to provide and be part of something that helps to provide a support network and some resources and some structure, so that
structure is a good way of putting it. I mean, because it's partly training, but it's also partly channels, so that you don't feel like when you say something, it goes nowhere and you're trapped within little tiny pockets of just oppression. And it allows there to be some vertical
accountability.
Accountability. Yes, thank you. And it's important that we create those spaces so that brave stories can be told, allowing more of an open conversation about this, because not everyone is terrible, but there are terrible things and terrible people out there. And if we allow silence around these things because they make you uncomfortable, or you don't want to talk about them, or I don't know anything about, someone that this has happened to. I can promise anybody that's hearing this, like, that you may have never heard of it, but I guarantee just how rampant this issue is. It's real. And so doing the work of creating the steps for people to talk about it and learn how to talk about it so that they can feel comfortable, because some people feel persecuted and chased, and others feel like, well, I didn't do anything, but what are they going to come? It's not about that. Just learn and listen. Turn your mouth off. Don't go into it feeling judgmental. And what I've seen your work look like has been very welcoming, non-threatening, and just about education towards accountability.
And there's so many things that you said in that statement that are 100% true. The first being that it provides a space, right? A space for people to come to, a safe space, and a place for people to not feel alone. Because I think that that's one of the biggest struggles. And there's a couple different things that I think prevent people from either standing up for themselves, reporting incidents that happen, or standing up for others around them. And I think one of those biggest things is, well, then what? What happens after you break this open? Because you can't put it back. So then what happens? And that fear of being ostracized or not supported when you've already experienced something that is potentially traumatic. And then you are reliving it as you're retelling it. But then to have people that either don't believe you or attack you for what you're saying, or just don't provide any level of support for you is hugely detrimental. And that's the reason why so many people keep things inside and choose not to report it, because I don't want to say that it's almost harder. Things almost become harder once you report it, but they kind of do.
Society is not geared towards supporting that. And that's what I think is so important about this work, is that it's opening up a dialogue around how we show support, and that not everyone is okay. And it's okay, but we need to figure out a way to be able to talk about these things and not be threatened by mental health and traumatic experience that happen to one another. Because if we can provide that level of support to one another, we're regaining a little bit of the humanity that we've lost along the way. And I think that's what's so important about what you are attempting to do and why this work. We had Melissa Walter and Tim White on previously, and just wonderfully empowered and impassioned, and just so focused in the work in different sectors that they're all trying to achieve. And I just think that's what's so nice about what the committee looks like right now, is you have very authentic and intentional people that are working in very related areas, but not all in the same one. So I feel like you're covering more ground, and it's more important at this time. And we need quicker turnaround to get more ground covered than just, blazing full charge into one conversation. It needs to be a lot of conversations around a lot of things, because we are wildly behind in that.
Oh yeah. yeah. So yes to everything that you just said. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people forget about is just listening. Not every conversation has to be an argument. Not every conversation has to be something that you contribute anything to. I understand this, and I'm guilty of it too, when somebody shares a story with you, especially when it's something that's very personal, and they share a story with you, and you provide anecdotal things that have happened either in your life or to a friend or somebody, and you say, oh yeah, well, my friend, or oh yeah, this one time this happened to me. It's our way of trying to connect, right? And trying to engage and in some regards maybe make that person feel a little less alone. But at the same time, just listen, and listen. Because it's hard enough to talk about this stuff, let alone to talk about it in a space where you feel comfortable, not judged, and it's not a competition. If you want to provide anything to the conversation, it should be asking questions on how you can be better, how you can support that person, how you can support their endeavors to create a more equitable and just environment. One of the reasons why we chose to drop diversity from the name of the committee, for a couple of reasons, but the biggest one, and this is something that I love sharing with people, because it was very mind-blowing for me and very eye-opening for me the first time that I heard this. So we hear the word diversity thrown around a lot, right? And diversity is great. We should all strive for it. But diversity is not the driver. Diversity is the end result. How you achieve diversity is by creating an equitable environment, an inclusive environment, and one that is more just for everybody. That is how you create diversity. And so while, yes, it is super, super, super important, that is what we should all strive for, you can't just jump to that. You can't just say, how do I create diversity in my establishment? Okay, well, there's a whole lot of groundwork that needs to be done before you can do that.
No, it's all about just providing equal opportunity, and the rest of the stuff, everything else will work itself out if we just all start treating one another as equals. And you said impactful work and asking questions about that, and that reminded me of the MASH. And how did this concept, because I think it's brilliant, the video series that you're doing, and just the conversations and the level of intimacy within the presenter, it's such a great space, and these conversations are wonderful. Are there more planned for the rest of the year? Is this something that's going to continue on? Because I think it's phenomenal, and I really am excited the direction of the project.
There are more planned for the rest of the year, yeah. How it came about, so it was somewhat of a collaborative idea, but I will say that Meg, who is the production manager or operations manager. Sorry, Meg, I forget your title, for North Country Brewing. So she's the committee chair. She's also on the BOP board. So this was sort of something that was her idea, and she's definitely sort of spearheaded a lot of the back-end production portion of that stuff, because that is not my forte, I can tell you that. I can talk all day long, but you asked me to
but you know,
put some of that stuff together. I'm like, does it just magically happen? I don't know. So it really came about, again, is, you know, we wanted to share stories of people that are doing work, doing things to change this environment. We also wanted to, again, provide resources for people to reference, because I think you had mentioned something about education earlier. I will stand on that platform all day long. That is probably my biggest thing that I push is just education, and that doesn't have to be any sort of formalized, sit in a classroom type of education. You know, conversations like this, listening to you know, podcasts and live streams like this, reading articles, that's a level of education. You know, engaging in conversations with people that have outside perspectives or different perspectives from what you have, different experiences, like that's all part of education. And so always being able to have something that you can reference, and a source that you can go to find different stories, is something that we were sort of like, yeah, let's do this. Like, we have this platform, we have this voice, we have this organization that is supporting this endeavor. Let's do this.
Yes.
So yeah.
No, it's beautiful work.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like, I'm just thrilled that, you know, it's varied perspectives, both from who the presenters are, but also the guests that you're getting are tremendous stories. So wonderful work. Keep it up. Can't wait to see your next one. I also, another thing I realized, this is a little tangential, but I'm going to shift gears here. You like came up at like the farm, like the best, like the training ground of homebrew supplies to brewery. Like, that story blew my mind. Like, can you, like, what was it like in that environment with just that cast over the years and just, wow.
Yeah, so you're referencing the fact that I started at Keystone Homebrew Supply?
Yeah, Keystone Homebrew Supply in Montgomeryville is just like,
right.
The names were just tremendous.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was just on a Zoom call with a friend that's a brewer over in Austria yesterday, and we were talking about, you know, our beginnings, and I mentioned Keystone Homebrew Supply, and he was like, I feel like I've heard of that in Austria. So what's funny about that is, you know, 10, 15 years ago, before some of these other online supply, you know, retailers were available, Keystone was kind of the one.
No idea.
They've been around for, I should know this, let's say 25 years.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I believe it.
It's close to that, somewhere in that 25 to 26 year range. So they've been around for a long time. And so, especially being in the Philadelphia suburbs, which, you know, Pennsylvania in general has such a great craft beer scene, but Philly for sure
has insane. Yeah, it's not even fair.
It's intense, an amazing craft beer scene. So, you know, Keystone provided this place that people could get a start. You know, they did classes. There's that education thing again.
Yeah.
You know, they taught classes. I taught classes there.
That's how I learned homebrew, is at a local homebrew supply. Just go and listen and learn, and then
absorb everything and
spend hundreds of dollars on buckets, and then you are in. Yeah, it's such a great business model. I loved it. Yeah. But I also learned a lot, and it was super important just for the overall growth of. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So there's a lot of people that have ended up in the industry that either got their start as customers there or as employees there. Myself, cool. John Stumler, Adam Crockett, Joe Getz, Tim Brown, I'm sure that I'm forgetting some others.
That's okay. This wasn't a quiz. I just couldn't, like, the list was, I was expecting like, oh, like a couple of people worked here, but it just kept going. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. Oh, Ryan C's. They just opened Warwick Farm. So yeah.
I haven't been yet, but it looks pretty insane.
Fun fact about Ryan and his dad, they took their first homebrew class and I taught them. So
is it like seeing like your own child going out into the world and like,
kind of,
yeah,
a little bit, but at the same time, like Ryan, I mean, I've known Ryan for, I don't know, 4 years probably, 4 or 5, well, no, probably longer than that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, and so they've been building this brand and working on it for a number of years. So, yes, I'm so excited for them. Like when they did their first farm beer garden weekend, you know, I took them a bottle of the champagne and
nice.
Like, this is a big moment. And I'll probably do the same whenever they open their tap room, because they're dear friends of mine. They're amazing people. And they're proximity wise, they're less than 20 minutes from Naked. So, anytime I need something in a pinch, I'm like, hey, friends.
But hey, everyone does it. And I think that as long as, you know, you play nice and you don't return things dirty, like it's fair game. So there's nice community among brewers, and it's not all, you know, not everyone, but like the majority, I would say over majority is extremely friendly, and
absolutely.
And then even more of a wider net are willing to work together in some regard, at least one time, to just see what it's like. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome.
For sure. I always tell people, you know, play nice in the sandbox, because if you don't play nice in the sandbox, everybody knows that you're the mean kid, and then you create this bad reputation and nobody wants to play with you. And that gets real freaking lonely.
Yeah. And beer's fun. So you don't want to be by yourself with beer, because then like, that's bad.
No.
But
I love people. So
I couldn't tell, honestly. It was really difficult getting you to show any personality or come out at all. But, you know,
no,
I think
really
we managed.
shy. I'm aggressively friendly. I'm like a golden retriever. It's what I always say. Because I'm an aggressively friendly, blonde shedding breed. So.
Well, I think that you are the perfect face for, and I have to admit something here. I have a problem saying the word naked because I have a little bit of Southern twang from growing up in the South, and I say naked. And so I've been Naked Brewing this whole time, and I'm like, no, it's naked. And it's like in the mirror, it's naked. So it's all right. But perfect face for the brand that you're building there. I think it's brilliant. I am so excited. Now you have a second location that people can check you out now in Bristol, as long as we
do, yeah, which is really cool. So our other location in Bristol is a tap room, and we are, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but I'm going to share it anyway. We're expanding that tap room and opening the space upstairs. Currently, we're in the bottom floor, which walks out in the back and walks out to like a big, gigantic municipal parking lot, and then the river is right there. But we are opening a tap room upstairs, which will be street level, which is really cool.
Nice.
I was there yesterday. I don't get over there very often because it's not exactly close to where I live. Yeah. And it's about a half hour from this brewery. So
brewing is hard work, and at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do is sit in Philly traffic when it's 110 degrees outside. Like, no, I get it. I wouldn't do it either. But
so I was there yesterday, and I got to see the construction that they did. So I just got back from vacation. So they pretty much started a lot of the construction while I was gone. And they cut a hole in the floor, or they're putting in stairs to connect the two floors, building the bar. It's going to be a beautiful space. Super eclectic, kind of funky, but kind of with this warm and welcoming vibe. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be really cool.
So essentially, it's gonna mirror your personality. That like they've found a way to capture the magic sauce and just say, all right, just give us some of that magic, and then we can franchise it out. I think it's great. It's wonderful just how you have taken a hold of a strong, small brewery and really kind of given them direction and focus, as well as them being a place where you can speak out on larger issues without fear of like, hey, we don't do that here. It's not that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's so important when you work in this industry to be in a space that you're supported by who you work for. And so that you can be yourself, because unlike many other industries, you can be yourself and be successful in this, because people are looking for personality. Beer is all pretty much the same, and you can only throw so much different ingredient at it. So you really have to allow the people to be that differing factor, that little rounding error. Like, that's what's going to get you the business, in my opinion. So I think it's wonderful, and I'm sure, how wildly empowering is that?
Yeah. So there's so many things in that statement that you just said that I'm like, my insides are cheering. Yeah, to be in a space that I am supported is just amazing. It's been honestly, it's been career and life changing, I think, for me, because I got to spread my wings without the fear of them being clipped. And it's, you know, I am supported, I'm heard, and I'm encouraged to be myself, which is, you know, took me a really long time in life to be comfortable with who I am, as I think a lot of people probably go through. But when you get to that point where you are comfortable with who you are, being able to be your true authentic self in every facet of your life that includes your work life, because let's face it, we spend a lot of time here. It's just amazing. And so, yeah,
that's tremendous and beautiful and so well put. I don't think there's a better way for us to end this show than just that beautiful poetry. Hannah, please let people know where they can follow either yourself or Naked Brewing Company on any social channels, or any way they can keep up with beer releases and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so Naked Brewing on Instagram, nakedbrewing.bristol, I think, is the other handle. I know I should know this. I'm really sorry.
I have that in my notes. Yep, you got that one. Yeah.
And then on Facebook, it's the same thing. So cool. Naked Brewing and Naked Brewing Bristol. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, and I post a lot in stories. I'm hit or miss on actual posts, but stories I tend to post stupid stuff that I'm doing in the back. But Daisy Chain 18, Daisy with a Z instead of an S. So
I actually caught a little bit of like collateral damage from your last Shotgun Friday. Chris from La Cabra is a good friend, and I was like, "Why are you shotgunning beers?" And then I followed the channel back. I'm like, "Oh, that's my guest for next week. That's awesome. Cool vacation." Well, yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Head Brewer, not a female brewer, y'all. It's just brewer. It's not gendered. It's just brewer. Head Brewer, Naked Brewing Company. Check them out. Their beer is tremendous. Once again, I'd like to thank Hannah Gohde and Wise Markets for making all of this possible today. I'm your host, Mike Lintel, and we will see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.